Welcome back to Control Plus. I'm Matt Jones and I head up the digital data and AI recruitment practice at Michael Page. Today, I'm joined by Joao Tappidinas, an AI innovator, former Gartner advisor, and founder of Brainy AI. We're diving into the future of work, exploring how AI can become a true collaborator, and even discussing what skills we should be teaching our kids to thrive in tomorrow's world. Let's jump in. Joao, thanks for coming in today. Good to see you.
It's great to be here, Matt. Thank you for inviting me.
You've had a fascinating career from pioneering data products in the 90s to being a thought leader in the AI space today. I want to jump straight into it today. If you could put yourself 10 years into the future, what's one way you think that AI will have reshaped the way we live or work? And what would surprise people about that?
Well, I'll start by saying that in 10 years' time, nobody really knows. So instead of fast forward 10 years, I'll go slow forward 3 to 5 years. That time frame, I believe we can make some guesses. Now, what we'll see in 3 to 5 years is that AI will have evolved so much that it can basically do the work of anyone in front of a computer today, including the two of us. There will be a better avatar asking better questions than you, and obviously a much better person responding, answering about AI. Better call center operators, better back office employees at a bank filling up a form. So if that happens, there will be obviously tremendous impact in society, in corporations, and in people's lives. Now, that sounds scary. Yes, it is. There are some ways to navigate that, and we'll discuss what happens so that it doesn't simply disrupt our jobs and get us in a very bad situation.
Before we move forwards, let's look back a little bit. So at the beginning of your career, what were some of the signs that you saw in the world of data that indicated where we might be going today in terms of the use of data in business and life, and how that's impacted what we typically think of as an AI product today?
Well, although I've worked in data and analytics for many years, including what we used to call data science, machine learning, 5-6 years ago, we couldn't really predict, we were not predicting the level of impact we're seeing today. 4 to 5 years ago, I did start to see with GPT-2 how impactful that could be in organizations. I was working for Gartner at the time, writing research reports, publishing research that thousands of users would read. And I started using GPT-2, an app, an early AI app at the time, to bounce ideas, to read some of my own ideas and then come up with what could be outcomes or just the next paragraph of that research note. And it was a wow moment for me. I knew at the time that that would only accelerate, would only have more impact, become more intelligent and disrupt everyone's lives, basically. That's when I really focused on AI, started my first startup, and here we are 4 years later, and it's all going even faster than I imagined.
Oh, definitely. The rate of change is immense. I mean, we were only talking 4 years, so that was 2021 when you first started using AI tools. How was that received in Gartner? Were you one of the first individuals to start using AI, and how were your colleagues' perception of that?
Well, we had a team that was focused exclusively on AI, and we were covering it like a tool that would impact organizations, that would basically be used by others to increase profits, make better decisions. Nobody was really expecting at the time the level of personal impact that we see. One way to look at this is to go back to COVID years. If you remember, there was a moment when the news were about 100 cases total in the country. That was like, oh, that's scary. It was 20, 2 days ago.
Yep.
And then it went from 100 total to 100 per day, 1,000, 10,000. So it was an exponential growth. Now, the rate of evolution in the AI space is exactly the same. It's growing exponentially. So what we think that is very advanced today will look primitive in 2 to 3 years' time. And that's how fast things are moving. They're not good enough. They don't replace anyone until suddenly they do. Like in a split moment, suddenly it becomes better than any of us working with the computer.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't expect to speak about COVID on an AI podcast, but it actually is a good analogy, and I'll come back to that in a second when we talk about maybe public perception and the fear that there is surrounding AI. Before we do that, your point about the exponential rate of growth, how can we help people grasp or fully understand the extent at which this will skyrocket? Because I've read some reports, obviously listened to some other individuals speak about the topic, and I don't know it in detail, and I'd like to learn more from you. But my understanding is the more powerful AI becomes, the faster it will become more powerful because it starts self-learning, self-improving. Can you kind of help us understand with some examples, and do we have examples? Is there anything in the past that has rapidly grown at this rate, or are we in kind of uncharted territory?
There's a very good set of examples that come from the software development space. That's one of the industries that is being, let's say, more impacted by AI in good ways, but also obviously for those losing their jobs, also in a negative way. So what is that? 1 year ago, AI was able to perform correctly tasks that would take a good developer 30, 40 minutes to achieve the same result. We're now at a point where it will take days for a human to execute what an AI can do in a short time frame.
What sort of time frame?
Could be a couple of hours, could be a few dozen hours. So, for example, just recently, Anthropic launched their new Sonnet 4.5 model, and that model is able to code continuously, autonomously, without any help from a developer for 30 hours straight.
30 hours?
30 hours. Now, it doesn't deliver the work that a developer, even a senior developer, will deliver in 30 hours. It's going to deliver 10 times, 100 times more than that.
Of course.
So that's the level of sophistication that we're seeing now. Is it always perfect? No, by any means. It fails. It hallucinates sometimes. But so do we. We also make mistakes. We simply don't talk about that in the same way we do with AI. So things are really accelerating, and it's a compounding effect. So if AI is able to code for 10 hours straight to generate software, that software can be used to build the next generation of AI, the next generation of systems that will make it even better and even more sophisticated. So the curve is definitely exponential, and this is from 100 cases total to 100 per day to 100,000 per day curve that we saw before.
Yeah, and that's happening today.
That's happening today. That's impacting people in real lives. We hear from big tech companies in the US, Microsoft, Salesforce, Amazon, Meta. Well, they laid off thousands of workers, like tens of thousands of developers, very skilled people that used to be very important for those organizations, and they can now let them go because an AI is doing much of their work.
Yeah.
The trend will continue to accelerate, and we'll need to think about what are the impacts and how we can overcome that and survive that.
For sure. I read an article, and I think there's a level of alarmist publication around what's happening with job loss, but I did read an article from the US a few months ago. A software engineer was applying for 1,000 roles. I think he had maybe 10 interviews, and he didn't get a single offer. And he tried to apply for McDonald's, and they even rejected him for being overqualified. So he's kind of in this limbo now of he was educated in a sector or a career path that he thought would be extremely valuable. I mean, I remember speaking to my nephew before he went to university. He went to uni a few years ago. He's actually studying data science. And I was recommending he go into software engineering because he has the right type of brain. He's very analytical. He was good with maths, and he's very good at building things and understanding structure. The career path now isn't maybe what it was even 2 or 3 years ago. And I think this leads into the question around fear and again, the link to COVID. Public perception is mixed on AI. I speak to people daily about the topic. Some people are very bullish. They embrace change. They're very excited. A lot of people are very scared. How have you seen public perception change since you've been working in the space? And what would be some advice that you would have to listeners today who may be fearful about what it means for their job, and maybe some practical things that they can start doing or implementing today to alleviate their fear and help them maybe prepare for what's coming as much as we can, because we don't even know maybe what's coming, but what advice would you have for them?
Well, there's different paths here. You can pretend it doesn't exist. You basically ignore it until it hits you eventually. You can fight against it if you're a creator, a writer, a journalist. Maybe that's an option that they're considering, or you can embrace it. Let me also tell a story of a software developer, an article that I read, a software developer in the US.
We're really hating on software developers today.
Yeah, well, it's one of the early impacted careers, which is kind of almost comical, because the ones creating the AI are the ones being disrupted by it. But so this software developer was having that level of frustration. Even being an AI engineer, he couldn't find a job. So he decided to use AI to start answering job offers. He created some agentic AI processes that basically were able to answer tens of thousands of job offers in the US. And he, in a matter of days, he got dozens of interviews scheduled, all automatically by the AI processes. And he ended up selecting the job he wanted, not the other way around, because he used AI in his favor. Now, that will work for a period of time. It will work for you, for me, for pretty much everyone that is able to embrace AI. How is that? We can use it to augment our capabilities, to make us more productive, to make us deliver more and better than similar people in other companies or even our colleagues. So it's a choice we can make. AI is here to stay, it's not going away, so we definitely need to embrace it. If you need another analogy, just think about those people 10, 20 years ago, if you're old enough, that didn't want, thought they didn't really need to learn how to work with the computer. 20 years ago, that was a thing. There were like senior people that would just tell their team members to do the computer work, whatever that was. They're obsolete now, obviously. So the same is happening now with AI. We need to be AI first, AI native, use it as a permanent companion to help us move forward, to be more productive, because it will impact us. It will eventually disrupt our companies, our countries, our economies, and everyone's responsibility is to make sure that you're the last man, woman standing when the AI starts disrupting jobs around you. Hopefully, we'll find also solutions for that so that we don't get to that grim outcome.
Fingers crossed. So your advice today to somebody that is a little bit cautious, nervous, fearful is to embrace the change. It's coming anyway. Resistance is futile. Do you have any suggestions for tools or anything practical that they can start using today to either learn more about using AI or to use AI in their specific roles? And I know it'll be very role dependent depending on what industry sector or what your role is, but is there some general tools or advice that you could give people on where to start and how to get going?
Absolutely. So the first recommendation I would make is think of the investment you need to make on AI like the investment we would make 3 years ago and still making today, like a post-graduation, some MBA. Like AI is the new MBA that everyone needs to go through. So set aside $50, $100, $200 if you can, and pick different tools that might help you in your job. What could that be? Well, we can start with the basics. Some ChatGPT will definitely help. It's a generic purpose tool. It can help you from writing to therapy to very domain-specific knowledge. Then you have, depending on what your role is, you have tools that can write presentation scripts for you. Yes, ChatGPT can do that, but they can go beyond that. They can prepare the slides for you. And even if they're not perfect, tools like Gamma, for example, will give you a pretty good outline.
Which one was that?
Gamma.
Gamma.
Yes,
Okay.
maybe I can share some links afterward that
Sure.
you can share.
We can add it in the comments.
Gamma, for example, will generate slides for you, and instead of starting from scratch, you'll be fixing font sizes and the image. You'll be much more productive. You could be generating copy for your ad for your product. You could be creating your own avatar, digital avatar that sounds and looks like you or like an imaginary influencer that will be in front of a camera promoting your product, your project, or talking back to you and training you, coaching you on how to answer questions for an important project delivery you have. So tools like Gamma, Agen, 11 Labs, if you want to dare into the software space, you could create your startup using tools like Lovable, for example, that will generate a full app just from a prompt. So there's plenty to pick from. And the goal here is to make sure you can accelerate what you're doing today in your computer, in your communication with colleagues, with clients, prospects. You can most likely make those processes faster, easier, more productive using AI tools.
Correct. You mentioned, you likened it to an MBA or investing in a postgraduate degree. Would you recommend that people still seek that route today? Do you think there's a value in the MBA in the modern world?
Well, I believe that most of us in the not so far future will become generalists to a large extent. Not because we stop being specialists in a certain topic. So I specialize in data and analytics. But in my startup, I also do product management, I do marketing, I do finance. I don't really have the skills, my own skills for that, but I can use AI to help. So I'm kind of opening my horizons, and I'm able to do more, be more proficient at more tasks that I never thought would be possible for me. Now, I'm still a specialist, and I continue to develop more in the AI space, data and analytics space, software development. That's where I focus. So yes, an MBA will still be useful and helpful. Any post-graduation in a specific topic, if you are working with blockchain, you go and find some specific training about blockchain. That's going to help you for sure. But you also need to develop as a generalist, able to perform multiple jobs, to have conversations with your AI companion about other roles.
I find it super ironic because at least when I was growing up, the advice was become a specialist. That's where the money is. That's where the niche opportunities are. That's where there's rapid career growth. And now we're kind of, flipping 180, and it's be a generalist, exactly what you're mentioning. And we hear this phrase today about being an AI director. So everyone should be elevating themselves in the next 3 years to a point where they can be directing or leading, in your case, and growing a startup by directing different functions or resources via AI. So understanding those different departments, not being an expert, but knowing enough to be able to prompt and analyze and assess the quality of what's coming out. So you need to learn how to discern quality and also describe value, I guess. I studied film, so for me it's exciting. I always wanted to be a director. I don't think I'm going to be a film director, but maybe I can become an AI director instead. But this whole discussion, it brings up the point of the idea around job losses. It will happen. It's inevitable. And if we do elevate ourselves to a position where we are in that directorial capacity and using AI to replace some level of white collar work, we will face a scenario where there is possibly mass unemployment. And there is the argument to make, what is this all for ultimately? Ultimately, who is the individual or corporations or entities that will really benefit from this? What's your thoughts around how the future looks from that perspective? And maybe we can hypothesize or play out some potential routes this could take, and how you predict or assume or believe that countries, governments will respond to what could be coming.
Absolutely. So let's try to understand what will happen in 3 to 5 years when AI is so advanced, so specialized in video format, audio, even physical tasks like driving cars and trucks. What will happen? On my way to the studio, I saw the Baidu Apollo Go autonomous cars driving in Dubai.
They're here now?
They're here now. Baidu, authorized by the Dubai authorities, is running tests. And in a couple of years, we'll see thousands of those taxis driving around with no driver. Now, that could mean two things. One, that there's a few thousand taxi drivers that are not coming to Dubai because the cars can drive themselves, or eventually some that are already here are going to lose their jobs. The same could happen to call center operators, to back office employees. Pretty much every office position that we have today that is mainly dealing with data, with paperwork, with computers, let's stay with that.
Yep.
There will be a disruption. Now, for every person that is replaced by an AI agent, there's cost saving for the organization, profits will increase, corporations will love it. They
Without
might
doubt.
pass some of those cost savings to their clients. People will initially potentially like that, but it also means that for each agent replacing one person, there's one salary less being paid, there's less taxes being collected, there's less spending, real estate, services, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, we'll see profits increase in organizations, followed soon after by unemployment rising sharply. If you go from, let's say in the US, 4.23% unemployment, and you go up to 10, 12%, society starts to break.
What will happen?
The noise will be tremendous. Corporations might ignore that. They're making more profits, right? But there's a point where less salaries and slower economy, because people are not getting paid, also means less sales, revenues coming down. And this will eventually, at some point, affect organizations, companies, and governments, because taxes will go down too, unemployment will go up. So there's people being disrupted first, corporations benefiting from that, and then corporations being disrupted and governments being disrupted. My expectation, my hope, let's put it that way, is that governments understand what's coming up and are able to act soon enough before people start getting hurt in a significant way. And what would be the solution? Well, maybe you need to tax agents as you tax people. Maybe you need to collect some revenue from those agents so you can pay unemployment or retraining to those losing their jobs. That's definitely an option. I'm sure there are more, and governments will need to find those solutions before society gets really impacted by this transformation.
Are these conversations happening? Do you know firsthand, secondhand, if these conversations are happening at government level within any countries? And if you can candidly share, what's your opinion on whether they are competent to be able to address what's coming and have the correct type of conversations about this? We spoke before we went on air about social media and the Mark Zuckerberg Congress trials, whatever you want to call them. They were farcical. The questions you were asked were irrelevant. They had no understanding of social media, the impact that it has on society, and that's far less complex than AI. We can't wait for our generation to end up in power. Our generation understands the implications, and they maybe have more of a grasp of what's happening from a technological perspective, but it will be 20, 30 years until the people in power today relinquish control, if they ever do. What's your thoughts?
Unfortunately, I believe we'll have to go through some pain before we find solutions. There's definitely talk about these topics in academic circles, in big consulting companies that study these topics, understand what the future is, and large corporations that are well informed, that obviously have big consulting firms working with them, understand what is the impact. But again, going back to COVID, it's a great analogy because that was a worldwide event that impacted us all. Although we knew what to do and how to stay safe, somehow we managed to a large extent not do the right thing. I believe the same is happening with AI because corporations will be corporations. They want to make profit. They'll be greedy. Even governments, they'll want to collect more taxes because corporations are making more profit, and that will work for a certain period of time. So that is definitely coming. It's happening now. Just look at the tech companies letting people go and increasing their profits. They're not firing people as they used to 5-10 years ago because the economy was down and the profits were down. They're increasing their profits because they're doing that. Okay, so these will happen and will impact society. Now, governments will act with the time horizon they have in front of them. Here in the UAE, we happen to have a government that is not thinking about the next elections, is thinking about the next generation. So maybe, I believe, it's not a maybe, I believe they'll be acting faster than in some other geographies where the timeline is the next election. And until people start complaining, until people start losing their jobs, they will not act in most countries, although the writing is on the wall. We know what is going to happen. But I think, unfortunately, we'll go through a bit of pain before good things can happen. Now, I don't want this podcast to be just grim, negative, and bad. What can we do to make things better? We know what's coming, and this is going to impact mostly the people that are not prepared, are not embracing this disruption. So what should we do? Learn AI, use AI, be more productive with AI, stand out using this new tool, this new technology that is available, that is not that expensive, that can benefit us in most of our tasks. We can even go from there to our families, our kids, make them AI native. Instead of saying, no, you cannot use ChatGPT to do your homework, it should be, yes, you should use your AI tool to help you with your homework. But there's a twist there. MIT researchers just released a study where they took this group of people, gave ChatGPT to some of them, Google search to a second group, and pen and paper to the third group, and told them, go write an essay on this topic that you're familiar with. Well, the ones that generated the best essay were, not surprisingly, the ones using AI, ChatGPT. But then when asked about that work, about that essay, when those three groups received follow-up questions, the ones that performed better were the ones using pen and paper.
Makes sense.
And talking with each other and really getting into the problem. So what these researchers found out, even using scanning the person's brains, was that there was diminished brain activity on those using ChatGPT. We basically turn off our brains. It's like, I just write a prompt, wait for it to come back with the answer. I take a quick look at it, fix a couple of things, and that's it, done. My work is perfect. But I didn't really use my brain muscle. I didn't develop my brain muscle. It's like having a robot with us all day long that is lifting every weight that is in our life. After a certain time, you cannot make any physical effort. You lose your strength.
Yeah.
So we do need to use AI in a smart way to augment our human intelligence, to develop our own capabilities, And that's how we become generalists. We learn to do new things, we learn new roles, and if the career we're following is kind of having a tough time with AI, we can maybe do something slightly different and become an expert in some other topic in a short time frame. So we really need to adapt and use AI to our benefit, but not to do our brain's work, to augment our brain.
Exactly. And I think you've touched a really important point here, which is where I believe some of the fear comes from. It's the element of being replaced. And if there's a theme here, I think it's that don't use it to replace, use it to optimize, enhance, augment, as you said. I can't help but think there's a contradictory point to this, though. And if I'm playing devil's advocate, there could be an argument to say, why do you need to retain the information if you will always have AI? I could use a calculator as an example. When I was at school, I hated maths, and we would have to do all the arithmetic mentally and by hand, even though we had calculators that could do it for us. And I kind of intrinsically knew that the day I leave school, I will never do any calculation by hand again. I will use calculator or whatever tool I have at my disposal in the future. Now, I completely agree with you. Not using your brain for critical thinking and not flexing that muscle is something that I'm extremely scared humanity may lose. But you could argue that for improved performance, if the AI can do it better than you, yes, you need to understand how to prompt AI, which is where prompt engineering becomes extremely important, and discerning what is a good output is also critical. So I'm kind of contradicting myself slightly. But I think there's a strong argument to make that you don't necessarily need to be advancing your brain power when you have a tool like AI available to you constantly.
That's a great point. Let me make an analogy in the calculator. I also went through that process, so I totally agree with that. The ones that did make a bigger effort at school to learn maths are the ones that can now pick a spreadsheet and work with it in a proper way.
And that's why I'm only recruiting them.
Yeah, and being able to create more complex formulas and understanding what the formulas are doing, even if you don't need to do the math by hand. It's similar. So yes, AI can give you all the answers, but you're just outsourcing your brain function to this AI. There's a high probability that you'll be one of the first to be replaced. Why? Because the AI can do the work for you. The AI can auto-generate the prompts and prepare the execution plans and execute the plans and produce the results. If you're not doing anything other than give me this answer, give me that result. Now, if you do go deeper than that and you develop that critical thinking that you were talking about. So in my startup, for example, as I mentioned, I'm using AI to do marketing, to do finance. I'm not a digital marketing expert. I just ask ChatGPT or Gemini, what should I do? How do I set up my campaign? But then I look at the answer, it's like, doesn't sound right. Let me compare this and ask the opposite question. Let me ask on another tab, ask the same question in a different way, or go to another model and ask the same question again, and then compare. So we developed that critical thinking that allows us to figure out, of all the good answers that we're getting, what is the right answer for us?
Correct, yeah.
And that's where we need to evolve. That's where you're still using your brain power, your mind is still evolving. And that's how AI is going to help you. If it's just giving the basic answers, then pretty much everyone will be at the same level, and you could well be disrupted.
Yeah. Don't have the attitude that I had towards the calculator.
Yes, most likely. If you're not a good spreadsheet user today, that's
There's a
probably
reason for it,
connected
yeah.
with that topic.
Staying on the education topic, we're both fathers. Our children are very different ages. What advice would you have to parents today, maybe with younger children, thinking about their children's education, their future? Do you see the education sector being disrupted? Do you see the typical education path changing? Have you thought about that?
I'm from Portugal, and we're very proud to have one of the early universities, one of the first universities in the world, in a city called Coimbra. If you think about it, if you see those old paintings about that university 500 years ago, I don't know for sure, but it's very old. It's the same model. You have a group of people sitting down, taking notes, someone talking to them, and just sharing knowledge. Very often one way. And things haven't changed in maybe 500 years. AI is finally disrupting that because you can now get personalized teaching. You can learn in a personalized way at your own pace, with the subjects being explained based on what you know, on your needs, your preferences. And there's plenty of tools out there from kindergarten to PhD that can help you along that process. Now, I believe teachers can be a driving force for that, because there's a lot to do. You need to teach kids to follow that path, to use AI in a smart way that will develop their skills, their capabilities, not just as here's the answer, here's the question, give me the answer. So teachers will potentially evolve from being like the tape recorder that is in play mode, just spitting out knowledge, to being a coach that can help students learn, also passing knowledge directly to them, but helping them find the knowledge they need at the pace and with the tools and the techniques that make sense.
No, it's a very good point. I think the education sector can go a long way towards driving that change. Regarding potential career prospects, would you make any comment or advice on possible roles, functions, careers that you think would be most greatly disrupted from your knowledge of the industry? We've spoken before about the medical industry and how even the most sophisticated level of surgery eventually will likely be replaced by robotics and AI. Would you advise people still seek the medical industry as a career path? Is there any career paths that you think would be eradicated, or maybe more on a more positive note, career paths that may be accelerated, promoted, and have more opportunity and augmented in a positive way by AI?
That's where the AI fog sets in, and what will happen in 5, 6, 10 years time, it's really difficult to predict. So if your children are 5 years old, 10 years old, or even younger than that, it's very difficult. I really don't have a good answer. But I would say that in general terms, physical AI is still behind. Human interaction AI is still a bit behind. What that means is robots are also coming, not just to drive cars. That's the first manifestation of physical AI, but to perform other generic purpose tasks. We're seeing the Optimus robot from Tesla, for example, or Figure, German company, I believe. They'll be in the marketplace in a few years, 5 to 10. But those are still good opportunities. So everything where you need to deal with tools, machines, objects, physical space, there's definitely
We have
a
some
big
time there.
opportunity there. Surgeons, yes, there will be some time until you trust your AI surgeon to perform a procedure on you unattended. So there's definitely still a lot of opportunity there. Probably not so much if you're a lawyer, if you're a designer, if you're a journalist. Those professions are being disrupted. If you're a software developer, those are being disrupted right now.
Today.
The other area that I think has still a long way to go is where you want human interaction. You go to a hotel, you go to a restaurant, you go to therapy. Having human touch is still something that humans were programmed in their DNAs to like. And there will be, for the foreseeable future, preference towards that. Maybe after the noise calms down, the dust settles, and we find the solutions for the economy problems, that will be the way for humans to go more into that type of professions where humans work for humans and the machines, the AI will perform those mechanical tasks that we were doing with computers decades ago.
That's the optimal scenario, let's hope for.
Yes.
I want to give you a chance to talk about your startup, Brainy. Before we move on to that, one last question around the AI area. And you mentioned trust when it comes to robotics. So I have a fear, let's say, of the day that I walk into a boardroom or I walk in to meet a client or an important meeting, and the individual standing in front of me he has some kind of wearable, which is probably not in the too distant future, whether it's a necklace, pendant, or glasses or something, which is AI enabled, augmented, and he is fed data immediately on who I am, how to respond to me, how to negotiate with me, and I have got a huge disadvantage when I walk into that meeting. Is that a reality that's coming quite soon? And what are the ethics around that? Would you be comfortable wearing such a device? Would you feel comfortable interfacing with someone wearing one? Because I feel that this is a scenario which will happen, and I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
That's a scenario that is already here. And yes, you can be afraid of it, or you can use it to your advantage. Now, what about the ethics? Should you get authorization to record, to use the wearable to your advance, like the recently announced Meta glasses, for example, that will have a kind of a display in front of your eyes? That's something I don't have a lot of answers to. I guess everyone will have a different standard. Some will use it regardless, others will be more careful and ask for authorization. Now, instead of just being afraid of that, you can use that to your benefit. You can use that to recognize the person in front of you, to give you advice. There's tools that you can use on your own laptop if you're on an online meeting, for example, that can listen to the call, that can provide real-time advice, information, help you access the right data to provide the right answers.
What's that tool called?
Cluely, for example.
Cluely, okay.
By the way, Cluely was created by a university student that basically wanted to cheat on exams. And so he created this tool that looked invisible to the other party and was able to listen to questions, was able to read on the screen and provide the answers to the user without letting the person on the other side of the meeting know about. So that became very popular at universities that had remote exams, like my son took a lot of those during the COVID years, and also for job interviews. No matter how difficult the question is, you would get the perfect answer and would look very smart by using that type of tool. Now, that student was basically expelled from the university and then grabbed a couple $1 million of investment and is now making a lot of money by developing that tool in a more, let's say, ethical way, where you can use it to improve your performance in online meetings, for example. So it's, again, a decision you need to make. Do you embrace it? Do you just become afraid of it and try to ignore it? Or do you make good use of it and improve your performance, your productivity?
Yeah.
That's probably a good way to go. Just don't go unethical. Too much use of AI without letting others know what's happening could be considered bad behavior, and it definitely is in some cases, like recording a meeting, a call that we have without the other party's authorization.
For sure. It's amazing the ingenuity that humans have when they need to cheat or get ahead, right?
Improve their performance.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Well, speaking of improving performance and productivity tools, it's a good segue into Brainy. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about your startup, what inspired it.
So Brainy AI, the company, is an award-winning startup. We won the prize for most innovative app by the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy. I had the opportunity to shake hands with His Highness Sheikh Hamdan.
Amazing.
And got a grant for Brainy. What we're building is a personal AI assistant that helps professionals and students handle information overload and reduce mental fatigue. We do this by offloading mental tasks to AI. But not like the robot that takes all the weight and makes your brain weaker. It takes the right amount of effort and lets you keep developing your skills, your knowledge, collecting more knowledge, storing that knowledge, learns about what you know, and over time becomes kind of a digital replica of your mind, of what you know.
Like a digital twin?
So it basically dumps everything you read, everything you access to a digital repository. And with that, you have your personal AI solution that, instead of giving you all the knowledge in the world like ChatGPT, works with what you know, with your own knowledge. So it's also able to personalize according to your needs, according to your goals, according to what you need to develop your skills. So we're basically fulfilling the mission of using AI to enhance human intelligence, not replace it.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And that links into your messaging throughout this conversation, really, that it should be enhancing, improving, and augmenting. So it's amazing that you're building a product to do exactly that. And I hear you've got some meetings lined up, some investor interest already. So I wish you the best of success with that and look forward to using the platform one day. Before we finish, I like to link it back to recruitment. Obviously, Michael Page is a technology recruitment firm. So let's finish with, what was the toughest or most interesting interview question that you have either been asked or that you have asked of someone else?
Absolutely. It was, what do you think the world will look like with AI in 10 years' time?
The question I asked you at the beginning.
I have no idea. None of us, from the godfather of AI that won the Nobel Prize last year to Mark Zuckerberg and anyone in between, really knows what the impact of AI will be. There will be competing forces from profit in organizations to declining revenues because people lost their jobs, to government having to deal with corporations on one side and people on the other side. We really don't know how things will look like in 10 years' time. The only thing we can take for certain is that the exponential evolution of AI will continue. The AI we have today, that Sam Altman from OpenAI claims is PhD level on every topic, will simply look dumb, very dumb, in 10 years' time. That we can take for granted.
It's an exciting and slightly scary proposition. Were you actually asked that question in an interview?
I've been asked by some organizations, even during the Great Apps Championship, where I was presenting my Brainy app, what I think would be the future of AI in the kind of long-term future. So yes, it's something that is, if not in everyone's minds, at least in the minds of those that understand how fast things are moving. So yes, I sometimes wonder about that, and I have no answer. So let me just make sure the next 2 to 3 years will go my way, and we'll keep doing it in 3 or 5 years. We'll see how things evolve.
For sure. And I think, again, that if we take another theme from the conversation, the future is out of our control. But what we can control is the way that we respond and adapt to it. It's up to us, really, how we embrace this change, how we use AI, how we use it to improve, and our attitude towards it. And I hope that anyone listening has found benefit in this conversation. Thank you, Joao. I think it's been an amazing conversation, very enlightening, insightful, and hopefully we can have you back at some point in the future.
I would love that. It was very good to be here with you, and hopefully helping your listeners to make a better use of AI and make sure they can continue to develop their human intelligence, because we need it.
Definitely.